It's been a while since I updated you guys on how I currently have my ultimate LEPIC set up, and I'm telling you, he's still a monster and probably, honestly, one of my favorite solo boss killers. When I want to farm those amorphous materials to open them up from these bosses, I use ultimate LEPIC over Haley. It's just a personal preference, and he's just so easy to use. If you look, Swamp Walker in 12 seconds. Now, sometimes you will enrage him, so you have to go through one phase, but most of the time you can get through him. We have Pyromaniac here, who's a cakewalk. I want to say Swamp Walker is probably the hardest boss out of all of the solo bosses to do solo, just because of his HP. But all the other bosses just drop so fast that you shouldn't have any issue. Like right here, we finished Pyromaniac in 10 seconds. And Devour, he's even easier. So every solo boss from Executioner, Dead Bride, Devour, Pyromaniac, or Swamp Walker, I love using Ultimate LEPIC. I can solo all of them super easy. And then even in group fights like Obstructor, Frostwalker, where you can't solo those because you have to queue in with people, I can still use Ultimate LEPIC if I really want. Now, once I get to Molten Fortress and Gluttony, that's where I like to use Glay because of Glay's gun build. But besides that, I definitely love Ultimate LEPIC for everything else. So let's get into the reactors, external components, then we'll get into the build, and then I'll show you my Enduring Legacy after that. So we are running a Burning Mechanic reactor. This is gonna have Enduring Legacy mounting. You can run whatever you guys want here. It's up to you. You do need one module on the weapon, and I'll show you that once we go over the Endure Legacy. But for the reactor, we're running a Burning Mechanics reactor. This is going to have the Endure Legacy mounting, since that's my primary. We have fire and we have tech skill power. You want that because that is what your ult is. And then for the two attributes, skill critical hit damage and additional skill attack when attacking Colossus is highly recommended, and it just allows you to destroy those bosses with ease. Now, if you're going to use a different type of weapon, just make sure you have that optimization condition there. For our external components, we have the Slayer set. I'm running a 4-piece because we get the general rounds, and then the 4-piece gives us that skill power of 26%. We do have defense and max HP on here, and then you definitely want to try to get something that has MP recovery out of combat. If you get anything that helps with MP on this build, it's going to be a plus. But again, MP recovery out of combat is always a plus on him in most builds that use skills. Now, for our second piece of the Slayer for the external components is going to be the sensor. We have max shield, we have max MP, and then we have shield recovery out of combat. Ideally, the one you want to go with here is MP recovery in combat. That's what you want to go there. But again, I can't be picky on some of these. Sometimes you just don't get those rolls, but you always want to at least have the max MP on there. For our third piece of Slayer, we have the memory, which has max shield. You can see we have defense and we have electric resistance. On this one, you would like MP recovery modifier. That would be the ideal. But again, I couldn't be picky, but I don't mind having resistance on some of these because it does give you a little bit of survivability against some of those bosses, and it's free resistance, right? But again, you want that MP recovery modifier if you can. Now, for our final piece of processor, we have max HP, max shield, and shield recovery modifier. That's ideally the ones you want to get there. You can't get any MP on that last piece. But yeah, if you can get the MP recovery modifier, the MP recovery in combat, how you want. So for the build, we are running the Firearm Master. Now, this one is reloading weapons, increase skill range, changing weapons, increase skill power. So when we go to our alt, we're changing weapons, and that allows Firearm Master to proc. So that's what you guys kind of want to go there. The thing is, with this one, you need to have Ultimate LEPIC. We do have MP Accelerant for skill duration and max MP, skill insight for that skill critical hit rate. We have Enlightenment for more max MP, maximize power for skill power modifier plus skill cooldown. We have skill extension for that skill duration. We have front lines because we want to hit hard, skill critical hit damage, skill critical hit rate. Emergency measures, the same thing, skill critical hit rate, skill critical damage. Skill concentration for skill critical hit damage. Fire specialist for fire skill power. And then dangerous ambush. When landing a skill while enemy is not targeting you, the skill power is almost 25%. Now, when the enemy is immobilized, that's when the boss drops to his knee, the skill power is up almost 50%. And that's how you're able to put out an insane amount of damage. Now, we do have long distance maneuvering, and I spent over 6 catalysts on this build because you guys do get a few rolls already when you get Ultimate LEPIC. But yeah, it took me 6 extra catalysts if you guys wanted to know how many catalysts I invested in Ultimate LEPIC. Now, the primary I am using is the Enduring Legacy, and you do need one module on your primary weapon, which is going to be Sharp Precision Shot. Now, you can honestly notice this when you are fighting the bosses, your fireballs start to pick up speed, right? That's because of sharp precision shot. So it is the one module you do need to have to work with your others. So that's something for you guys to keep in mind. Sharp precision shot ideally is what you guys want, because that does work with your number 4, your ultimate, which is your primary damage on this build. I'll show you everything else I have on this. We have rifle and reinforcement for firearm attack, action reaction for firearm attack, better insight for critical hit rate, insight focus for fire critical rate and fire critical hit damage, fire rate up for that fire rate, better concentration for more crit damage, rounds per magazine, allows us to have more bullets. And then we have fire enhancement, which works amazing with the unique ability on the Enduring Legacy. And then we have concentration priority, which gives us that critical hit damage and then reload time modifier. Now, if you guys are going to be using this strictly for Colossus bosses, you could stack more weak point damage. I do recommend having firearm attack, critical hit rate, critical damage, and bonus fire attack to Colossus as your main 4 attributes, and then everything else is up to you. You'll notice we have almost 11,500 defense, 2,800 health. Very glass cannon, but this build absolutely is amazing. So if you guys have any questions, this is my go-to bossing build, the one I typically use, and the most updated version, and the one that you probably see me on Twitch. So if you guys haven't noticed, we have been streaming a lot of this on Twitch, so twitch.tv/NothingButSkillz. You guys can watch me over there. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one, but until then, hey, Nothing But Skills out.